I enjoy the work I do as an adjunct because it allows me to work with students and support them, but I often feel like I'm not doing enough or that I'm not doing as good enough as I could be. I do my best to prepare and plan, but the reality is I don't even feel like I have the space or time to do so. It's also very easy to feel disconnected from the institution and from the community of teachers because there isn't time or opportunity to connect with others. I knew early on that getting hired for a full-time position would be difficult, and it's sad to think that this is just one of those truths that has to be accepted for most part-timers. For example, because I have to work another job for health insurance and steady income, I don't really have time to do things like volunteer for committees, write papers, or attend conferences, which then puts me at a disadvantage if I were to apply for a full-time job. In a way, it is discouraging. I know the work part-timers do is valuable, but it doesn't always feel like it is treated that way. I'm lucky that I have a full-time job, which means I'm not relying solely on my job at SCCCD, but it's also disappointing that there are so few opportunities for long-term steady employment.
I plan to teach part-time upon retirement from my full-time position. The adjunct role has fulfilled my expectations to some extent. I love teaching and supporting students. What has been difficult is managing the tremendous amount of unpaid prep time and large blocks of grading due to the heavy assignment requirements. Actual class time is minimal and easy to manage. The unpaid time consumes so much of my free time, it is difficult to justify teaching when more lucrative part-time jobs are available in my former career.
As a part-timer, my life has been impacted both positively and negatively. The positive comes from the students, while the negative comes from many full-timers who do not understand we, part-timers, have master's degrees like they do and work as hard, if not harder, than they do.
Without this position, I wouldn't have a job. I am thankful for the work experience I've received since becoming an adjunct professor. However, the amount of adjuncts are paid is pitiful compared to the number of hours they are expected to work. The financial strain has negatively impacted my psychological health at various points since I began working for FCC.
Being an adjunct instructor, I've been able to have a positive impact on student lives. That is why I still teach part-time. I have often held 1 to 3 other jobs to make ends meet due to the pay we receive. A full-timer once said to a fellow adjunct regarding wages, "The hourly rate is so high because we are expecting you to do prep work and grading when you are not in the classroom." Well, with the amount of time, which includes prep work, grading, exam writing, student contact, and more, I put in, I earn about $5 an hour. I don't feel that I'm earning my full potential for my secondary degree or valued as an educator. I have done a lot of unpaid work for this institution, and I'm glad the union is saying we do not have to do uncompensated extra work.
Being an adjunct with only semester by semester contracts has made it uncomfortable for me and my family to invest in buying our own home because I cannot truly rely on a consistent monthly income that guarantees I will always have the money to make my monthly payments. Also, since I am paid by the hour, some months I see a significant reduction in my pay if there is a holiday during my normal day of instruction. Otherwise, there are some other drawbacks from being an adjunct compared to a full-time employee. One is that I do not have an office. I find it at times more difficult to focus on my work from home than it would be to work from an office space elsewhere. I also think an office would make it easier to talk with other professors about how their teaching experiences to possibly better my teachings. Lastly, I am aware that full-time members are often able to get free electronics to help with instruction that adjuncts are not.
I am struggling with anxiety and depression because I have no idea whether or not I will have a job in 6 months, or if I will be one of the lucky ones who gets offered a class over summer. I have gone to work sick because I'm terrified to miss work due to needing the money I'd make in that time and getting in trouble by the higher-ups. I'm terrified to even write this stuff. I love teaching. I feel that it is my calling, but I'm at the point where I feel like I need to leave. It isn't worth the mental anguish that it has been.
It has significantly impacted my ability to provide for myself financially. I love teaching and I am a dedicated instructor, but there are many instances where it has left me feeling high levels of anxiety and worthlessness. The stress of working multiple jobs impacts my well-being, and I always have a looming feeling that I need to quit teaching so that I have more financial stability, particularly the older I get. Through the district, I have very little retirement, no benefits, and I'm not paid sufficiently for the hours and dedication I offer. The percentage of adjunct faculty in our district leaves one with the feeling that obtaining a full-time contract is nearly impossible, and that alone is depressing. If I didn't love teaching as much as I do, I would have never stayed in this job position for as long as I have. I made more money waitressing, to be honest.
I love being an instructor. It gives me fulfillment that I don't get with my full-time job. I want to be a full-time instructor and be more involved. That being said, it kills me a little bit every time I apply for a full-time position and don't even get an interview. So much so that I did not apply the last time there was an open position. The lack of respect for the time and effort that I put in this institution makes it difficult to stay. Eventually, the district will lose me. Like everyone, I want to grow and develop personally and professionally, but there is no clear path for full-time instruction.
It leads to burnout because there is often much work to do and none of my prep time and grading efforts are paid. It's very frustrating and inequitable to do all the same work as full-time faculty regarding course teaching responsibilities and not be compensated for it. It's demeaning and embarrassing to have a PhD and to only earn $30,000 a year. I have a tremendous amount of responsibility, but it is not seen as worthy of pay. I don't think it's too much to ask to be paid my time, as the district knows that the lion's share of teaching happens behind the scenes. And there are many hours needed to prep before one walks into a classroom and teaches. That time and effort is labor intensive and without question should be compensated.
Being an adjunct means doing the same amount of work for less pay, less job security, and less respect. It affects my life in more ways than I can explain here, and mine is not a unique experience. Adjuncts are shamelessly exploited by our system, but we need to pay our bills, so we keep coming to work. The administrative powers that be know we're replaceable, and they let us know it too.
I'm always in a fight with unemployment because they continue to say I am guaranteed employment, which isn't true. I have pretty much given up the dream of full-time work, even though I have a solid background, great experience, and a surprisingly strong will to work. It makes me so mad that my education, my experience, and my drive is thwarted by a system designed to lift people up. Plus, don't get old. Ageism is an issue we aren't addressing here. Why can't a 72-year-old have a full-time job?
Being an adjunct has been incredibly difficult. My husband is disabled, so I'm the sole provider. I teach at 3 separate campuses over an hour apart. I also teach every summer and fill in the gap weeks with unemployment. We are much more stable now since I am working so much, but my early years as an adjunct were traumatic. With only my income from SCCCD and other small teaching jobs, we struggled so much financially. We were homeless at one point, so we moved back in with my parents, and I commuted 3 hours round trip per day. We relied on government assistance like Medi-Cal and food stamps. I was so scared by those experiences that I've had trouble feeling financially secure ever since. I plan to leave teaching if or when I get the chance, because the instability still scares me. Also, I am burnt out from working so much, just to barely make the amount of money that an entry-level employee could make in other fields. If it weren't for the efforts of the unions, I know I'd be worse off. The paid office hour, pay raises, and unemployment workshops have absolutely saved my family.
I feel unappreciated, underutilized, expendable, terrified of losing classes last minute, afraid for my health and family future, and I have given 13 years of my life to be treated like a slave they wouldn't care about losing in an instant. I've never gotten a job interview in spite of my education, years of experience, involvement, and top reviews by students, all of which contributes to my feelings of anxiety, feelings of being seen as worthless and valueless. I've increasingly battled depression and anxiety. I've lost my hair from stress, suffered with adrenal and thyroid issues, and have spent many nights crying. I give my life to this job. I love it and work sometimes 60 hours a week in prep, grading, and teaching. But it is never acknowledged in any meaningful way, and I'm at the complete mercy of the full-timers who get priority, earn 3 times my income, and then speak to me like I'm an idiot. I have taught there longer than half of them. The disrespect, condescension, elitism, and self-righteousness is disgusting, emotionally abusive, and has eroded my sense of self-confidence and self-worth. I've been working to leave academia in the last 2 to 5 years because of this environment. Being an adjunct is demoralizing. I'm in a constant state of exhaustion and rage due to the number of uncompensated hours I work to fulfill my obligations to my students. Taking my classes from me at the last minute, after I spent countless unpaid hours preparing for them so that full-timers who already make 5 times more than me for doing the same work can make load, reinforces the point that I am unappreciated and dispensable. Despite having the highest qualifications in my field and decades of teaching experience, I get a tone-deaf email each year inviting me to be mentored by a full-time faculty member. I don't need more professional development. I need to be paid for the work that I'm already doing. If I weren't spread so thin, I'd be working harder to dismantle the academic caste system. I can't make a living as a teacher despite devoting my entire life to this profession. I'm only able to work here because my partner financially supports our family.